So this is a video that I just saw come across my timeline today in Twitter, and I watched it, and I wanted to talk about this and react a little bit to this video. I only watched first minute or so, but this guy has some incredibly hot takes. So the topic of this video is that Representative Burchett, Tim Burchett, he had some quote where he's basically saying how Russian agents or foreign agents, how they manipulate our politicians, right? And now what the topic of this is not completely wrong, right? I actually agree with it, but it's the way that this guy takes his takes on it and his biases on it that are quite appalling to me. Now, I can't tell if he's completely trying to troll. It seems like from what I can find out about the guy that, he's trying to give, honest takes, but he's also thinks of himself as some sort of comedian. I'm not really sure. But yeah, this guy, he's clearly very radicalized, very far left, just by some of the things that he says. So let's take a look here and talk about it a little bit.
Tennessee Republican Congressman Tim Burchett or Tim Boucher, I don't know and I don't care. This is the guy.
That's another thing that he does constantly throughout the video. He pretends to not know how to say this guy's name. Okay, whatever. I guess you're better than him, sure, because you don't know who he is, and no one knows who you are either, sir.
Who Kevin McCarthy alienated because Kevin, I love telling this story. If you listen to the show, Kevin, I'm going to tell it again because it just makes me so happy. When they were voting to vacate the chair, Kevin McCarthy called Tim Burchett, Boucher, whatever, and he said, I need your support. And Tim Burchett said, I'm praying on it. And Kevin McCarthy, much to his credit, started laughing hysterically. You're praying on it? And then said something about people who pray on things. And Burchett announced the next day, I couldn't vote for a man who mocked my religion.
So he's a Democrat, but he likes McCarthy. No surprise there, because he's just part of the establishment. He's basically a Democrat himself. And he says he correctly mocked him for praying. Okay, sure. That's your right to have that opinion. But again, this is something that we see constantly nowadays where it's okay for them from their high tower to look down or spit upon someone who disagrees or thinks differently than them about a whole range of issues. But it's not okay for anyone else to criticize them about anything, right?
Kevin McCarthy hates this guy. He kidney punched Tim Bush. Remember, this is the douchebag that Kevin McCarthy kidney punched late last year. Probably the only good thing Kevin McCarthy has done in his 20 years in politics was kidney punching Tim Boucher. Boucher is Burchett is one of the 8 Republicans who voted for McCarthy to vacate the chair, and Kevin McCarthy hates him. He says that Burchett loves the sound of his own voice and never saw a bank of microphones that he didn't want to pontificate in front of. It's this sugary Southern drawl, and it just sounds so benign. We're just going to make it impossible for black people to vote. That's all we're trying to do here. We're just trying to separate the races here.
Where exactly is that coming from? Again, more lies. A common tactic that we see nowadays. I imagine Burchett has been a champion of voting IDs, and then he draws the line. David Feldman, draws the line to, I'm trying to stop black people from voting. Who's the racist here, sir? Is it Senator Burchett, or is it you?
It just sounds so sweet. Well, during the holiday break, Burchett has been talking a lot. In a podcast interview, Burchett said a lot of his colleagues, Republican colleagues, have been compromised by Russian agents feeding them drugs and prostitutes. This is what he said. He said what a lot of us have been saying about the Republican caucus since Trump. He said, and I'm going to just read this word for word because this validates everything we've been saying, okay? He says, let me find, how do I go full screen here? Full screen. This is his, he says, the old honeypot. The Russians do that, and I'm sure members of Congress have been caught up. Why in the world would good conservatives vote for crazy stuff like what we've been saying? Here's how it works. Well, why in the world would good conservatives vote for crazy stuff? Because there's no such thing as a good conservative, you douchebag. Okay, he's going to tell us how it works. You're visiting, you're out of the country or out of town. Or
So just pause real quick. Based on that line right there, there's no such thing as a good conservative. That proves to me that you're not being objective, sir.
you're in a motel or at a bar in D.C., and whatever you're into, women, men, whatever, comes up and they're very attractive and they're laughing at your jokes and you're buying them drinks. Next thing you know, you're in a motel room with them naked, and next thing you know, you're about to make a key vote, and what happens? Some well-dressed person comes up, whispers in your ear, "Hey man, there's tapes out on you. Were you in a motel room on whatever with whoever?" And you're like, uh-oh. And they say, "You really ought to not to be voting for this thing." And what do? It's human nature. What? Human nature? Really? Maybe for Republicans. He goes on.
Again, why take that stance on it? He's clearly very biased. I would consider myself more conservative, but I would say that the new movement of conservatives are not aligned with Republican or not aligned with Democrat, and we would take the view that both of them are bad. Not this man. This man is a bleeding heart liberal, loves the Democratic Party, and only Republican politicians, only conservative people are problematic, according to him.
No man or no woman is an island, and they know what to do, and they know what to get at. He's talking about the Russians. If it's women, drugs, booze, it will find you in D.C. and in most elected offices, and that's what people in power and influence do. Wow. Well, that explains it all. I can't believe he said it, and I can't believe he's still walking on the face of this earth. You're not supposed to say that. That is loose lips. That is logorrhea, diarrhea of the mouth. I can't believe it's not being reported everywhere. I mean, it should be an addendum to the Mueller report. It sure explains a lot. You have a lot of members of the Republican caucus refusing to vote for the Ukraine supplemental. We've seen.
So what he's saying here is, I guess to him, this confirms all of the Russia collusion stories somehow. That's not what I see here at all. What I see here is actually more aligns with the position that Trump has made, is that our politicians are corrupt on both sides, right? I bet you he won't acknowledge that this exact thing would happen to the Democrats as well. Maybe it would just be coming from the Chinese. Do we remember Eric Swalwell and Fang Fang, right? So I'm not saying that it's not true that this would be happening to GOP senators from the Russians. It probably is true. It makes sense to me because the Republicans and the Democrats are both evil and they just want to line their pockets, right? So this guy definitely would not take the stance anywhere in the middle. He's clearly picked his side. Me here on this channel, I'm going to try to be objective about things. I'll admit that I'm more conservative in my views, but I'm not blinded, right? I'm not going to support anything that's Republican. I was registered as a Republican, I think until last year when I got my new license, and I changed my registration to independent because the Republican Party does not support my values, even if they are conservative. They're just part of the uniparty, which is Republican and Democrat. And that's the main problem that we have here, is that it's wrong to actually support either side to this extent. And this guy has clearly just chosen to only single out the issues of Republicans. I am not going to do that. I am going to, anything that I see that I think is wrong or should be covered, whether it's Republican, whether it's Democrat. Hell, if Trump himself does something that I think is wrong or that I think should be called out, I will. And I don't agree with everything that Trump has done, and I've also spoken out about that. So I'm not going to watch the rest of this video. You can check it out if you want. David Feldman here. I just found out about this guy today, but clearly he is very biased, and all he wants to do is attack Republicans. Sure, maybe he's funny, I guess, to some people, But you can do that and also be objective. This guy is not. I appreciate you watching this video. If you like what I'm covering here, please consider subscribing, give the video a like. If you want to see more videos like this, I will continue to cover politics, news, entertainment, technology, religion, anything that I think is relevant to today's social climate. Other than that, thank you again for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.